The State Cabinet, on 18th October, approved the Meghalaya Street Vendors Protection of Livelihood and Regulation of Street Vending Scheme 2023, intending to strike a balance between the need of providing livelihood to street vendors and the need to also ensure that other equally important issues like law and order, decongestion, and safety to pedestrians are addressed. Briefing media persons on the salient features of the scheme, Cabinet Minister Paul Lingdor informed that the government will identify legal hawkers through some eligibility criteria in place and allow them to carry on with vending accordingly. Informing about the first criteria, Lingdor said that a person has to possess EPIC issued by the Election Commission of India (EPIC), plus a certificate of at least 3 years residence in Meghalaya in order to carry out vending. Secondly, the vendor should have been vending at a particular spot for a minimum of 6 months. In addition to that, the vendor should possess a valid trade license in areas that are outside of the 3 normal areas under the control of the Shillong Municipal Board (SMB). He informed that the scheme was finalized after receiving suggestions from various stakeholders, including the KHADC, KSU, Rangabah Shnongs, Hawkers Association, and others. The next step is to immediately take up an inventorization. We will start with the survey of street vendors and process the application of these vendors based on the broad framework which I have spelt out, Lingdor informed. He further said that the Urban Affairs Department will also so planning on demarcating vending and no vending zones.
On the first matter, which is the street vendors, as you are aware that there is a central act adopted, passed in 2014, called the Street Vendors Protection of Livelihood and Regulation of Street Vending Act of 2014, under which rules were framed by the state government in 2022. Now, as a part of the process of the framing of these rules, a scheme was conceived known as the draft Meghalaya Street Vendors Scheme 2023. And today this draft was approved by the cabinet with a few observations and amendments. Basically, the intention of the government is that we strike a balance between the need of providing livelihood to street vendors and the need to also ensure that other equally important issues like law and order, decongestion, and safety to pedestrians, and the fact that, as we observed in the recent fire incident, how street hawkers were a major cause of the delay in the intervention by the fire services in containing the inferno at Kandaila. So today, the scheme was approved, and the salient features of this scheme I can share with you. But broadly, it speaks of town vending committees who will be eligible to be identified as legal hawkers. There are a set of criteria clearly laid down. For instance, the person has to be has to possess an EPIC issued by the Election Commission of India, plus a certificate of at least 6 years, 3 years residence in Meghalaya. The vendor should have been vending in a particular spot for a minimum of 6 months, and three, he possesses a valid trade license in areas that are outside of the three normal areas under the control of the Shillong Municipal Board. We have also received a number of suggestions from various stakeholders, including the KHADC, KSU, Senjok Irangba Shnong, Hawkers Associations, and today, after very detailed discussions, we have been able to finalize this scheme, and what we will now do next is to immediately take up an inventarization. We will start with the survey of the street vendors and process the applications of these vendors based on the broad framework which I have spelled out. Then we will also be taking up this special planning in order to decide which are vending and which are no vending zones. And the government would also strive to provide dedicated vending zones and market spaces to the street vendors.